Chapter 20. After more than a month, perhaps because of me, the Emerald Forest became a meeting place for 5 people including Oh Young, Mai, I, Min, and Jia Yin. Everyone's age and experience are similar, and inadvertently gradually formed a strange balance of intimacy and alienation. To outsiders, we are just a group of young people with beautiful appearance and outstanding temperament, who speak tacitly and act in harmony with each other. But only those who are in it can appreciate the subtle differences when they are together or get along with each other. Of course, this is also largely due to our distinct temperaments. Oh Young is the eldest among us and has passed his 30s. His temperament is very gentle and honest. He is sharp and diligent at work, humorous, forgiving in his leisure time, and he is an elegant and humane gentleman. Mai's recent performance has made me very distressed. I don't know if it's because she's too busy at work or because her development with Oh Young is not going well. She looks a little haggard and doesn't seem to be in good spirits. Sometimes when I talk to her, her eyes are empty and distant, with a blank expression on her face, and suddenly she will respond with a no sound, making people look more anxious and pity, but Oh Young doesn't seem to feel it at all. I felt very sympathy for Mai, and I often couldn't help but argue with Oh Young during gatherings. I didn't care because he took extra care of me in the company. However, Oh Young was always unconvinced, smiled and looked at me and shook his head as if I was a naive little girl. I'm pissed. Jia Yin is 2 years older than me, but she is the most innocent in our group. She and Min are both second-generation Chinese born in the United States. The two were childhood friends, grew up together as brother and sister. Therefore, when Min decided to return to China for development, Jia Yin also actively asked to return the leaves to the roots, so they came to Shanghai together. Jia Yin is a standard banana girl, with a cheerful and enthusiastic personality, a simple and lively way of doing things. Her good Chinese and solid Chinese foundation with Min completely benefit from the fact that both of them are well-known families, and they pay extra attention to poetry and calligraphy. Being with Jia Yin is like a feeling of enjoying the spring breeze. People who see Min for the first time will naturally classify him as a so-called new human young talent. He is the kind of person with a very eye-catching appearance, who does not reject any popular elements and likes to try new things, and these characteristics are often reflected in Min's design. The strangest thing is that those trendy styles that may seem strange to others will have a completely different taste once they reach Min, avant-garde and unique, straightforward and out of vulgar. Many times Min's performance is ruthless and uninhibited, but sometimes he is so gentle and meticulous. Occasionally, I talked about Min with Mai. I tilted my head for a long time before suddenly realized, oh, Min is the kind of person who is as quiet as a virgin and moves like a rabbit. Mai was thoughtful. Look at me. For the first time, when talking about handsome guys, she didn't sneer at me for being a protein girl. She nodded in agreement, and added another sentence, he also like a dragon, so astonishing. It is rare to hear that Mai has such a high evaluation of boys, that I almost dropped my jaw. And after saying these words, Mai stared at me again and out of focus, I almost knocked on her forehead. It's better to turn the wind to chase Min if love is so bitterly. Of course, I didn't dare to say that at all. As for me, I am the youngest, but my personality is the least pleasing. I feel dark, and I can't help but feel inferior. I secretly glad to meet such good friends. I try to improve my obscure and gloomy side. Perhaps out of habit, I have never been able to release myself completely, and there is always a little more reservation in my speech and behavior. Everyone should have felt it, but they were all generous and tolerant, which made me feel ashamed and grateful. Rome wasn't built in a day, and I consoled myself that at least I'm working on it, and it's changing. So 5 of us with very different personalities actually got together. One day at the end of June, like the previous 2 weeks, still drizzling. The weather was gray and very humid. The rainy season was almost over, and the next was the burning July. I just finished an illustration, and looking out the window, I felt very annoyed. Even the braids that were tied up and hung down at the back of my head felt particularly heavy. I suddenly decided to change my hairstyle, and immediately put it into action. The hairstylist who took care of my haircut was a lively little man. When he saw me, he exaggeratedly slapped his forehead and screamed in a low voice, "Wow, this beautiful girl, you are taller than me. Life is worse than death." It made me laugh. After wetting my hair, the little man asked me, "How would you like to cut it?" I smiled and said, "Cut short." "So what kind of short hair do you want?" "Casual." The little man was obviously very happy with the trust I expressed directly, so he asked me to sit there for 15 minutes. The beauty of work presented by people when they work conscientiously is the same in all industries, regardless of high or low. I thought so, and the corners of my mouth were slightly raised. "Okay." The little man called out at this moment as if he made up his mind, and nodded hard at the person in the mirror. I didn't know if it to me or himself. Then he opened the tool kit with a very gentle gesture, and the combs and scissors began to fly over my head. Strands of long black hair fell. Looking at the broken hair, a trace of long-lost sadness appeared in my heart for no reason, as meticulous as silk, an illusory ethereal sadness. It is said that if you cut your long hair short, you can cut your worries. Does anyone really believe it? My casual gave the little stylist unlimited space to use his skills. It took more than 2 hours to cut my hair, and then he helped me to highlight the ends of my hair into a more subtle golden brown. After a few hours I was getting tired and sleepy. Suddenly I heard "Okay. Perfect." I immediately got up. The little man looked at me with the expression that the creator looked at his proud work, and was very affectionate. I just felt that my head was very light, and when I turned my face and saw the reflection in the mirror, I couldn't help but be a little lost. Inside, it looked as if it was a lost elf who had entered the mortal world by mistake. The layered short hair was slightly raised, a little naughty and delicate, which made the face covered by soft bang look extra. Chapter 20. Really believe it? Anyone really looking at anyone really? If you cut your scissors began that if you cut your long hair short, you can cut your worries. Does anyone really believe it? My casual gave the little stylist unlimited space to use his skills. It took more than 2 hours to cut my hair, and then he helped me to highlight the ends of my hair into a more subtle golden brown. After a few hours I was getting tired and sleepy. Suddenly I heard "Okay. Perfect." I immediately got up. The little man looked at me with the expression that the creator looked at his proud work, and was very affectionate. I just felt that my head was so light, and when I turned my face and saw the reflection in the mirror, I couldn't help but be a little lost. Inside, it looked as if it was a lost elf who had entered the mortal world by mistake. The layered short hair was slightly raised, a little naughty and delicate, which made the face covered by soft bang look extraordinarily beautiful, with a neutral temperament similar to the little man. I sincerely thanked him, and walking out of the store. It was about dusk when I went out. Now it's past 9 o'clock in the evening. I just drew a picture today, and I haven't gone to see my, nor have I gone to the Emerald Forest to show up. My stomach suddenly twitched, and I remembered that I hadn't eaten anything today, so I decided to go to McDonald's first. Sloppily solved the food and clothing, and found that the rain outside almost stopped. Just as I was about to find Jiayin, a naughty thought flashed through my mind, so I walked into the department store upstairs with a smile. Pushing the door into the Emerald Forest, despite the rainy night, there were still a lot of customers in the store. There was a piece of Enigma's mystery on the music player, and the ethereal music whirled around in the blurred atmosphere of tobacco, coffee and perfume. On the small dance floor, slightly drunk guests swayed and danced gently. When I pushed open the wooden door, the copper bell hanging on the top of the door rang twice as usual, which did not interfere with the soft laughter inside. When I turned around the glass curtain wall and appeared in front of everyone, the coherent voice suddenly stopped, and many people looked over. Walking through the crowd, I vaguely saw behind the innermost table where we used to sit. They all seemed to be there. I walked all the way and smiled slightly in the ambiguous eyes of everyone, with a kind of prank of stealing joy. Oh Young first saw me. His eyebrows were slightly raised, and his face showed a confused look. He quickly returned to a calm and gentle face, shook his head and smiled helplessly. Mai also noticed my approach at the moment. She glanced at me absent-mindedly, just turned her eyes away, then fixed her gaze and slowly stood up and left the seat. I laughed slyly, and prepared myself for her next word. However, unexpectedly, Mai suddenly fell down and sat down again. It was as if a string puppet suddenly broke the thread. She frowned and looked a little unhappy. I was a little discouraged, and I started to regret it. Maybe I played too far. At this moment, Jiayin, who was lying on the table, found me, and she yelled, "Wow! Xiaobai, you are so beautiful. You look very much like Min now." She ran out happily, grabbed my arm and pulled me to the table. Min, who was chatting with someone next to him, also turned his head, saw me. He was stunned for a moment, got up and walked over to me, reached out and rubbed my short hair roughly, then grinned, revealing a pure white teeth. Apart from being half a head taller than me, Min has the same white loose-fitting shirt, blue wide-legged straight-ripped denim, gold and brown highlights, short hair, a tall and slender figure, a naughty and uninhibited laugh. The two of us stood together like twin. This is my sudden naughty thought. When I saw myself in the mirror, I already thought of Min. The hairstylist actually helped me cut a hairstyle that was almost the same as Min, before coming to the Emerald Forest after eating burgers. I temporarily decided to turn into a department store, picked out a men's loose white shirt, paired with a pair of worn-out jeans I liked, and replaced my original clothes. The loose clothes concealed the girl's slightly undulating figure, and when I came out of the fitting room, I had turned into a graceful and elegant young man. Actually, I was just going to make a joke with everyone, but I didn't expect it to be so coincidental. It was so similar to Min's clothes today, and it's a bumper. After talking and laughing, Mai seemed to be happy again, and didn't blame me. Oh Young is always so peaceful and prudent. He looks at me with a smile like a brother looking at his naughty little sister. Jiayin envied me that my short hair was prettier than her. Min didn't miss the opportunity to tease Jiayin, and the two quarreled again. I think today's gloomy and humid day is actually very interesting. Now there is a sense of interest. I run behind the bar to do my job as a bartender. A few fancy wine-throwing movements were revealed, and the mood of the guests began to rise. People kept coming over to ask me to make mixed wines of various names. I followed them one by one. A few college girls occupied a row of high bar chairs in front of me, staring at me admiringly and coaxing from time to time. Seeing that I was having a good time, Jiayin also ran over and drank 3 or 2 glasses of the vodka lime I prepared. She was so excited by the alcohol that she slid to the small dance floor and swayed with the people. Mai and Oh Young sat quietly in a corner, occasionally whispering a few words. Because a lot of smoke, I couldn't see the expressions on their faces clearly. Min was at the other corner of the table, chatting with the person across from him. I was standing beside that person just now, but I never noticed the existence of the 6th person besides us. Up until this point, the day has been very happy for me. My friends and I maintain a close and loving balance as usual. I had never met the person across from Min. He's a stranger to me, so I naturally ignored him. At that time, I didn't know that because of the intervention of this stranger, it would break our current balanced friendship of serenity and joy. A long time later, I recalled this equally beautiful and cynical face. Although I no longer remember his facial features, I could clearly see the evil smile flashing in the depths of his engraved slanting eyes. However, I didn't notice it at all at that time. End of chapter 20.